Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here. We start a new series here on this channel, here on the Pro Wrestling Logic YouTube channel, and that is the uh, WWF All Star Wrestling Series. I believe the show starts in 1975, if I remember correctly. Don't know how many episodes we're going to get to here, hopefully, as many as we can. All Star Wrestling runs through 1985 before they start the more traditional Superstars of Wrestling and Wrestling Challenge for the year. Also going to add some Championship Wrestling in as well eventually. But we're going to start a new series. Don't know how long it's going to run. Don't know how many episodes, but we enjoy being here. Over 1,400 episodes for your listening pleasure. We may be taking a break as I need to make a relocation in the next couple of months. Don't know what that's going to look like, but we'll update when I have more information. The Intercontinental Champion, Tito Santana, is here. I believe Intercontinental at the time, maybe Tag. Nope, Intercontinental would be incorrect for 1980. Against the Iron Sheik, and Fred Blassie is managing the Sheik as he would 3 years later when Sheik wins the World Championship. But the Sheik goes right after Tito and the Irish Whip and the clothesline. Sheik is not even out of his traditional, Iranian wear, including the boots that he wears, and he is going right to town on Tito, choking the man out. The referee does not call for the disqualification right off, which is kind of odd. Santana, who is a major star at the time, probably second or third babyface at the time, does come over and eventually body slam his man. The 1/5/1980, actually in really clear shape. One of the few episodes of this show shown on the WWE Network over the years. Actually, probably shown on the original 24/7 series. Anyway, headlock by Santana, stays on it pretty aggressively for a while. The Iron Sheik is and has been obviously around since 1972, so here he's got about 7 or 8 years under his belt. Pretty consistent grappler. Sheik misses a drop kick. Can't imagine him leaving his feet later in his career, but does here. Santana follows up with a drop kick that actually hits. Santana takes his opponent over into a side headlock takeover again. Works the head. Brilliant match. Running head scissors, leaping head scissors by Santana. And then takes the Sheik back down into the traditionalized headlock takeover, and eventually we get, the Sheik sending Santana to the outside of the ring. Freddie Blassie, wearing a, I guess you'd say, peach-colored suit, is not impressed with his man's adversary by any stretch of the imagination. Santana tries to get back into the ring and does so. Iron Sheik goes out, grabs a wooden chair. Back in the old days, wooden chairs were a thing, especially in Allentown, Pennsylvania, where the TVs took place, and Santana strikes the Sheik before he can enter back into the ring, and eventually Santana gets the victory there. And really, for 1980, for something, nearly 40 years ago, definitely worth taking a look at in terms of simple way to tell a story in a match, simple way to keep a crowd, small crowd, few hundred people for the television at the time, but it's there and it's meaningful. I mean, they get 10 or 11 minutes out of it anyway. Then we go to a... Keep in mind, this show is hosted by Bruno Sammartino and Vince McMahon Jr., otherwise known as Vincent K. McMahon. Ken Patera with the Grand Wizard versus Bill Berger. Patera has been in and out. I think he becomes the first Intercontinental Champion, or actually second Intercontinental Champion later in the year. He's done the Pan American Games, also trained by Verne Gagne. Very heavy Verne Gagne influence here in the first two matches, and at the time in WWF 80. I'm actually enjoying this because I haven't seen the stuff before my fandom too much. So, prior to 1985, I haven't seen that much. Berger not exactly looking like a fantastic physical specimen. No offense to him, but got a little pudge on him. Patera does some jumping jacks and some basic things. Takes the takedown pretty seriously, wearing the Olympic game or Pan Am game deal. Takedown, and then he cinches up into a rolling roll through for a pin or attempted pin. Pulls the man up off the mat because Patera is a pretty nasty heel at the time. Vertical suplex, actually falls backwards, which I tend to prefer. Vertical suplexes now look too much like cooperation, whereas in the early 80s, guys would tend to fall backwards instead of leap backwards. Small nuance, but I think it's something that's been lost in translation over the years for wrestlers of this from this generation. Were doing a better job of it at the time. Patera cinches up on a reverse chinlock, manages to go into things, and ultimately manages to get a hook on, and ultimately sees what he can see. He eventually hits the swinging full Nelson to get the victory, and Patera basically says he is an Olympic weightlifter. He is a guy that no one can stop. Grand Wizard basically says that Backlund and others are scared of Ken Patera. Patera basically says no one can stop him, and that ultimately no one will stop him, and that he is going to be the champion. Love the fact that the heels at the time all made fun of Bob Backlund, partially because most of the fans were at the time too. By this point in 1980, he's about 2 years into his championship run, and it doesn't look very good. The fabulous Hulk Hogan, or the incredible Hulk Hogan, depending on your look of things here. 2-on-1 match against two enhancement talents. And Hogan in white trunks, white boots, but looking like $1,000,000, coming off of his, or basically coming around. He hadn't even started the Hulkamania thing yet. I don't think that actually starts till late 81, early 82 in the AWA, but here he uses, double power moves and the like. Hogan hits a few body slams and doesn't really leave his feet for the enhancement talent. Enhancement talent tries to drop kick him and go at him pretty aggressively. Doesn't work out for them very well at all. Hogan manages to continue going right after his adversaries, who just take shot after shot at him and don't really get anywhere, partially because the shots they're taking are not aggressive enough. Float over on a suplex, vertical suplex by Hogan. Rare to see him so dominant, but at the same time, he was dominant at the time because they're trying to build him for Andre at Shea later in 1980. Shots across the back with some forearms. Hogan not taking any backward steps, absolutely none at all. Gets the hanging backbreaker among other things and gets a submission victory out of that, a la used by Jesse Ventura and others. Hogan basically says this is a new time. Mocks Bruno Sammartino wearing a very bad toupee. Freddie Blassie says Sammartino's in the past. Says that Bob Backlund is fearful of Hogan. Also says that, in fact, Hogan is the man of the 80s. It's a new decade. It's a new time. Hogan looks like $1,000,000, a bit bloated, but still. Blassie trying to maybe goad his adversary into his former adversary, Sammartino, out of retirement. Then a babyface Larry Zbyszko against Johnny Roz in a match that runs longer than one would expect. They get several minutes out of this. Zbyszko, of course, the protege of Bruno Sammartino, his legitimate trainer. That continues to be a thing. Nice hip toss by Roz. And finally, Zbyszko does rake at the eyes when he needs to. Match is decent, although Zbyszko has not completely turned yet, I do not believe. Not necessarily familiar with the time frame, although people are still cheering both Rods and Zbyszko, so a rare babyface versus babyface match. Kicks and punches and basic stuff by Johnny Roz. Roz trying to take his man down as quickly and efficiently as he can. Can't get everything he wants out of it, but gets enough there. Body slam by Roz, and he's unable to hold his man up over the head. Zabisco not the least bit worried about anything other than trying to keep things going in a directive. Snap mares him over, and Zabisco drives knees into the spine, stays on his man for quite a few minutes there, tries to roll him up, and tries to get a pinfall. Zabisco very aggressive throughout, showing a little bit of heel tactic, although not completely. Leaping almost Thez press, but then kind of double chops into the shoulders. And Zabisco does get a win, cracking the heads together. Then we go into one more enhancement match. This time, Big Bad Bobby Duncum versus Ron Lee. Lou Albano, the captain, is his manager here. Duncum doing the big Texas thing and had obviously legitimately was Texan, but still had a kind of approach that was more aggressive, assertive, and a heel. I think he does a couple of matches around the horn with Backlund through the major clubs, Boston, Philly, and the Garden. So that's his main focus here, trying to get him ready for that. Goes with a modified chokehold sleeper, doesn't get all he wants on it, but does manage to hit a bulldog and get a victory. They actually slow motion the bulldog, and Duncum gets a victory as we close the program for today. We'll be back with more right after this.